What's up? It's Connor. Welcome back to Elevated Entertainment. Oh, it's been hard finding time to upload. This has been crazy. So I missed last week. It's been the last Saturday, and this past Saturday just late because it's Wednesday. So technically I only missed 1 week. I'm trying with the weekly uploading. We'll see where it goes, but I just needed to jump on here real quick to talk about Tenet. The new Christopher Nolan film. First of all, this was the first time I had been to theaters since February, which was to see Call of the Wild, right? And I mean, so much has happened since then. I graduated, I got married, I'm in the middle of kind of a work transition, part of the reason I haven't had time to upload and missed a week, but, you know, it was just so weird being back in a theater, and it was opening night of a new Christopher Nolan movie, one of the first big blockbusters to really come out since the pandemic, and there was one other couple in the theater. There was 4 of us there. I just thought that was crazy. I thought, there goes my cat. I thought more people would be ready for something like this, and they weren't. So, basically, here's my thoughts on Tenet. I've been seeing a lot of reviews about this, and it hasn't been getting a whole lot of love. People saying, Christopher Nolan went a little too far this time. It's a little too confusing. It's a little too convoluted. Here's one of the only critiques that I agree with about the film. By the way, no spoilers, so you're safe. The sound mixing was pretty bad. I could never hear, like, there were really important conversations that I couldn't hear because the music or the sound was so overpowering. And these are like key moments in the film. So I was a little, disappointed in that, but the score was great. And so that made it a little hard to follow, but at certain scenes. And then there was a couple scenes where the editing was just fantastic. And then there were other scenes where the editing was just atrocious. There's one particular scene where they're sitting in a restaurant talking to each other. And you'll have one shot where it's facing him and he's like this. And then the next shot, it's facing his back and his arms are like this. And it's just so obvious. You're like, well, why would you do that? It's these really bad cuts that are inconsistent. And so that goof happens like 4 times. And plus, it's just cutting too much in that scene. A few things like that. But overall, very well done. But in that sense, when it comes to sound mixing and editing, I understand how Nolan is known for those things just being fantastic in his films, and it wasn't there. Here's where I don't agree with a lot of the critiques. There's people saying that the story was too confusing. It was too convoluted. It didn't make sense. He went too far this time, and we're talking about the guy who made Inception, right? I mean, most people agree that takes a couple of watches to really get the whole story. Interstellar, I mean, this guy makes movies, the Prestige, that are going one direction, and then in the third act just totally shift into something that you didn't even expect. And that's what he's famous for. That's Nolan, And this movie does the same thing. Without spoiling anything, in the third act, it just introduces this whole new element and goes in this whole other direction. And it's great. And I have to be honest with you, I did not find this movie hard to follow. If I'm being totally honest, it was easier for me to follow on my first watch than Inception or Interstellar. I was expecting something a little more after reading the reviews. I was expecting something really kind of complex to happen. And, it is an intricate story, but it's told pretty straightforward. I didn't have trouble understanding anything. The best way to describe it is it's like James Bond with weird time travel. And to be honest, for the first and second act of the movie, it's so easy to follow because the time travel element doesn't factor into the story. It's more of a plot device used for these really cool-looking fight scenes, which, by the way, Christopher Nolan is also known for not having great fight choreography in his films. Like, that's a big complaint about the Dark Knight trilogy, and especially Batman Begins, just the hand-to-hand combat just not being good. This is so good. There's one particular scene where John David Washington, the lead actor in the film, fights this guy in a kitchen, and he just totally takes him out. And man, he pulled it off with more like just, I mean, we have all these heroes that are supposed to be like really like, oh, they're, even 007 is a great example, that they're just, he's walking off a bulldozer on a train that's exploding, and, he just doesn't care. He's just wearing his suit and he's totally calm. Like, it's no big deal for him. It's just another Tuesday. And man, this actor pulls off that attitude probably better than anybody I've ever seen in this particular fight. It's just so good, and it's so visceral and well done. So it's a huge step up in that regard in the fighting. But then, yeah, the time travel is kind of used as a plot device for these really cool looking fight scene until the third act. That's when it actually becomes a big part of the story. Up until that point, it's more of just, your typical spy espionage thriller. And yeah, it wasn't, I think it's pretty straightforward movie, pretty easy to follow, and also good. I mean, I wouldn't say this is one of Nolan's best, but I certainly can't agree that it was his worst. I think it's on the same level as maybe The Prestige and Batman Begins, some of his films that, they aren't the best. They aren't The Dark Knight or Interstellar, but they're good. They're good movies, and not a whole lot of people make movies like them. So, look, go give it a watch. The cast is great. Robert Pattinson, John David Washington, and Kenneth Branagh just kill it. In fact, Branagh, if I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, plays one of the best villains I've seen on screen in a while. I mean, you just really can't stand this guy. And then John David Washington, I mean, just what a standout. Just does a fantastic job. So, anyway, if you have theaters open near you, go see it. I think you'll enjoy it. Don't listen to the critics. I'm not really sure why this movie's getting the hate that it's getting. And if not, then I hope you got theaters opening soon, because I love being back in a theater, but I am curious to see where this goes, because it's had a pretty abysmal opening weekend with everything going on, and I know all the other studios are looking at Tenet to see what happens before they decide to release any more films. So anyway, thanks for watching. I know this video, not a whole lot of editing, not a whole lot of prep. I don't have my usual background. I just sat down and filmed it real quick because I wanted to get my thoughts out there. But we have some more video essays and stuff coming soon that I've been, putting a little extra work into. But sometimes I just want to chat, and I have a minute, so that's what this is. And I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you've seen it. And we'll talk more about movie stuff soon.